the stage actor Tuwaine Barrett. You're officially and she is an Academy Award nominee for Secrets and Lies 28 years ago. But currently, she was named Best Actress by the LA Film Critics Association, the New York Film Critics Circle, and the Chicago Film Critics Association, among many. Please welcome Marianne Jean-Baptiste. So, normally an actor, like, they get a script from their agent, and, like, they talk with the director, and they're off and running. That's not really how Mike Lee works, is it, Marianne?
No, it's not. It's not. But can I just thank everyone for coming out tonight with the fires and all that's going on. We really appreciate your support of the film.
So, but why don't you tell me, like, what it was like for you to have that first conversation with Mike and describe his process in putting the film together.
It was crazy. Mike's way of working is like no other, and to be in a situation where I'm working alongside him, Marianne and Michelle and the rest of the cast and crew, I felt very blessed. To have that much freedom and say on my character is something that I'm pretty sure I'll never experience again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very grateful.
There's no script, so we all go in individually and work with Mike. He'll ask you to bring in a list of people you know from real life, and you go through that list with him and describe people in detail, or as much detail as you can. And then the list gets smaller and smaller until you land on about 5 people you know. Mm-hmm. And then you merge those characters together, and you move around a bit to find them in your body, and then you start building a new character from scratch, every detail of their life. And that's how that's how the characters are born. And then the relationships are born, because then you know, for example, we would have worked together to talk about his childhood and, school and his friends, if he had any, and, all that stuff.
So what's it like to, have that kind of freedom as an actor to put a character together, put relationships together, but also kind of like, I would say the challenge to do that, because you've got the best of both worlds, you got the challenge, but you also have the freedom.
Yeah, 100%. And I remember Marianne said in another Q&A, when it comes to certain, scenarios, and when you're working on different scripts, you probably have like a week to establish your relationship. Oh, that's my mum, and that's difficult. But also, I think the difficult part is when you have that time to create a relationship and try and make that organic or feel organic because we know these characters better than probably we know ourselves. The difficulty can be to create a lot of judgment. We are, as people, our own worst enemies sometimes. So when we're playing characters that we know so well, there is a tendency to judge, and we shouldn't.
Certainly.
So yeah, that was hard.
So look, Marianne, you worked with Mike before, but it's been a while. Yeah. So I'm wondering, if anything had changed, but also what it was like to go back to that process after all these years of doing obviously very scripted work.
Well, his process hasn't changed at all. It stayed the same. It's so wonderful. It's such a fantastic process that you yearn for it when you don't have it. but at the same time you're petrified because it's the unknown. You don't know what your character's going to be, you don't know what the film's going to be about, you only know what your character would know, so you're just completely in the dark the whole time. But that's what makes it so special, because you can't sort of go, oh, I'm going to play it like this, or in that scene I'm going to do that. What scene? The scene doesn't exist. I haven't created it yet. So it's very, very organic, authentic, and real.
So what you're telling us is that you're finding the movie along the way.
Totally.
And when did you get to a point throughout the making of the film where you started to feel like you kind of found the movie?
When I saw it. It's when you see it, it's like...
Yeah, I mean, like as Marianne said, we found out, I mean, throughout the whole time I was thinking, I think I'm the lead. I remember, yeah. I saw the film, I was like, Marianne. I mean, how incredible she is. I mean, I sat with you guys and watched it, and I was probably my 6th time seeing it, and probably the most I've cried, for sure. Her performance is impeccable. I mean, I can't.
Oh, shut up.
No, honestly.
He would, when we were having breaks and stuff like that, he'd come into the green room area and be like, that I'm the star of this. It's about Moses. And I would always be going, where'd you go on those walks? Tell me. Because we're really good about we don't tell, we just keep it to ourselves. And I'd be like, where'd you go on those walks? Have you got a girlfriend? Are you watching porn upstairs?
But you see, that's the thing too. I mean, you're creating your own character, but you also are creating a real dysfunctional, I mean, something we all relate to, dysfunctional family dynamic. So, describe that process about working with your cast and workshopping, I guess, figuring what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, we did, and what we do is, after we've created the characters and you've sort of you're introduced to the characters and you work the history out together, you do these improvisations in real time. So it would be we'd be improvising for hours,
Wow, yeah.
with him in some part of the rehearsal space, and Pansy just cleaning or watching the programs that she liked on TV and trying to fall asleep, and just being in the space and figuring out what the routine was for each of them. And then, Mike would shout, come out of character, and we'd have a play and muck about. But there's a family within the piece, and then there's a family without the piece that we kind of create amongst ourselves as actors.
So it's one thing, normally when I do have conversations like this, I always like to ask actors, how do you remember your lines? Because seriously, everybody's different, everybody has a completely different process. But you didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what you did have to worry about was finding the character, and that required a level of commitment where I'm wondering if you felt like you had to stay in character to find the character and find the dynamic with the cast and with the other actors.
I mean, look, many great things about Mike, but one of the things he does, he's very disciplined about is, as Marianne said, going into character, coming out of character.
Yeah.
And he allowed us so much time to do that. I remember when I first started doing this, I was kind of worried. I said, oh gosh, I wonder how long I'm taking. And he couldn't care less. I mean, from my experience, it was, I wanted to make sure I didn't take anything home.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can only imagine for yourself.
Yeah.
I
didn't take anything home either. It would have been awful, but it's as real as we are when we're in character, and we are, it's not method, because it won't work. He wouldn't be able to get Pansy to do anything You know, there'd be an argument about everything if I stayed in character the whole time. Do you know what I mean? And I'd probably get into fights and things like that. So you don't do it. But he did say at one point to me, over the weekend, just softly go into character and monitor her as she goes about her day. And I went out and just observed the world as Pansy observed the world. And that was really useful because I thought, oh God, she is really observant. But she is subjectively observant. You know what I mean? And judgmentally observant.
Definitely judgmental.
But the thing is, but I feel like, you know, having seen the film a couple of times now, I don't judge Pansy. I feel like maybe like initially you think, oh my God, this is gonna be a hard character to like, but you do feel empathy for her, which I think is that's a like tough line to walk. You know, playing someone who could be kind of abrasive but empathetic. But also, you know, what I'm wondering is like how many takes of scenes would you kind of do?
Couple. Really. And I mean, and what you see on screen, by the time we shoot anything, it's all scripted as such. We have improvised it and then repeated it. I mean, that's petrifying. I remember the first time I worked with him, we did something like a 3-hour improvisation. It was just going on, and he said, okay, start again from the beginning. We were like, and we had a cup of tea, and then we had to go back in. And I start talking, and he said, stop, come out of character, you didn't say that. And I was like, what? I was supposed to remember everything I said. And he was like, if you're in character, you know, as people, we'll remember what we said. A couple of words might be out, or it might be out of order a bit, but we do remember it. And so you kind of, I don't know what it was like for you the first time. You didn't have anything to say. Oh!
I had a dream.
Oh.
Great.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
The scene at the kitchen table, I think it's one of the few, if not the only scene where the whole cast is together. So what was it like filming that particular scene? You remember how many takes you wound up doing for that?
Oh God, because we had all the coverage,
Yeah,
right?
we had. I think that took a whole week, no?
No, it didn't. It was a couple of days.
Oh, it felt like a week.
It was the hottest day.
It was hot, and
The hottest day.
and that mac and cheese was. So I'm lactose, and I didn't tell them that mac and cheese was real. That's why it felt like a week. Yeah.
We were sat there, but we covered it. It was covered. It was a couple of days actually in that thing, because he tries not to go too much on something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, it was great. Like,
It was lovely because we had two apartments, one that we were filming in, and another one that was kind of like a green room type situation. So every time they said cut and we're gonna reset and stuff, we would flee into that green room and be cackling like witches, like joking, because the tension, it was so tense in there that it was just like we just needed a release, you know.
But the other reason that there was just so much humor that I found to be A, refreshing, and B, unexpected was because, you know, Pansy in certain situations says what we all are thinking. You know, like at the counter, the checkout counter. I mean, I don't know if you intended it to be, but I thought that was hilarious.
No, I'm very funny.
Yes, you are.
But Pansy isn't. Pansy has no sense of humour whatsoever. So I didn't realise how funny it was until like the third time I saw it. At first I was sat there and I was just like, oh my God, it's too much, it's too much, it's this. You know, people were laughing and all I can think about is, but she's acting like that because of this. And she's got that, and this person's doing that, and you know, because I look after her and justify, you know, what she does and don't judge her. But then the third time I saw it, I was watching and I just thought, oh my gosh, she called this woman, said this woman looked like a piece of string. You know, she said that, and I started hearing the lines back in a completely different way. So now I find it really fun, but I also find it really emotional. Like it's really like, yeah.
I'll hold that thought, because like what I want to ask is, as you were filming along, and I think you told me in a previous conversation you shot pretty much chronologically.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you feel like you were getting the hang of like what he wants, what Mike wants, to have a better idea, so like you didn't get to the end of a really powerful take and have to go, let's try that again.
No, I mean, Mike was just so. I trusted him from the start. So whatever vision that was, or whatever he had in his head, he just wanted to make sure that I was happy as well doing that. And I didn't even really think about it in chronological order. I just kind of, yeah.
It's a weird thing because you build up. Mike trusts you a lot when he's working with you, obviously to collaborate in the way that he does, and you in turn have to trust him because man, those Hawkeyes are like on you, you know, and you know, you're vulnerable. You're just like you're giving everything, and so when you come to do it, I mean, a couple of times I was like, are you sure this is it? You don't want to do another one or what have you? And he'd be like, no, we've got it, like, trust me, we've got it. You go, all right then. You know.
Well, it's Mike Lee. There you go.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
Mike
he's
Lee. I mean,
doing.
I'm not gonna-
You're not gonna argue with him. You know, I was wondering, like, you talk about the emotion, which I wanted to come back to. So, the 3 times scene out, by the time you get to the scene where Pansy starts off laughing and turns into her crying. And it's so hard to pull that off, I think, without it feeling contrived or forced or staged. It felt so genuine. Can you tell me about filming that scene and if that was something that you did a couple of times or, you know?
How many people were in the scene? I don't know. I mean, he started on their coverage.
Yeah.
So it was like, bloody hell.
Yeah, so yeah, because they shot us, well, they shot the characters doing it before they shot Pansy.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I had to do it over and over and over again, and
5 times.
it was different, wasn't it? It kind of changed. Sometimes it would be laughing and then crying and then laughing again.
Yeah.
I mean, it was real hysteria.
Wow.
It was really quite hysterical.
How does working with Mike Lee, how does making a film in this way really like develop you as an actor when you've never done something like this before?
I mean, yeah, I will never work the same again. You know, when it comes to character development and trying to understand who my character is and speaking about them in the third person, rather than saying I, you know, that discipline is now drilled into me, and I won't be the same.
So when you've like, I mean, the movie premiered at the Toronto Film Festival in September, which is where I saw it the first time, and I'm just curious that in these months that the film's been screening, what was there something that stuck out to you, a reaction that you got, whether it's from somebody in the audience or somebody like a critic, wrote something, or a journalist reacted that really stuck out to you?
What I think has really stuck out is we've done Toronto, New York, London, San Sebastian, San Diego, been to Copenhagen, Paris and Rome, and in each place a number of people have said, that's my mum, that's my mother-in-law, that's my aunt, she reminds me of a friend of mine. And that's what's really stuck out, because people know Pansies, you know.
Yeah, they do.
She exists in the world. And some men even have said, I think I'm a bit of a pansy.
Well, first of all, I mean, I have to say, it is such a pleasure to rewatch this film, because you get so much out of it, and just like, the Curtis, and what a performance, your whole cast is just fantastic.
Yeah, Kurtley, David Webber, Michelle Austin,
Yeah.
Chantal.
So now that you've seen the movie in theaters now, and you know, how do you spread a movie today? I mean, of course you go on social media, except for TikTok. But
Is it banned?
yeah, it's anyway. January 19th, it might be going away. Regardless, so please spread the word. Go on Facebook, go on Instagram. You in the back, if you're still using X, knock yourself out. Spread the word about hard truths. And thank you.
Thank you.